So let's see what Chapter Approved 2021 has in store for the denizens of the Tomb Worlds. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy-focused 40k channel, where today we're back to review the points changes for the Necrons. There haven't been sweeping points changes across the board, but a few meaningful things have gone up or down, so let's see what we've got. So as best as I can tell, these are the only changes for the Necrons, 2 small nerfs and 4 small buffs, so largely the vast majority of the codex is going to be staying the same. In particular, now we've finally got confirmation that there's no nerf to Necron warriors, so it puts that fake rumour to bed that was leaked earlier in the week. For the nerfs, the first one is to the Catacomb command barge, which has gone up 10 points and is now 155 points base, a points cost increase of plus 6% from before. I can kind of see why they might have done this change, basically to make it a bit more comparable to the Overlord, as I personally felt that the buffs that you got for upgrading to the Catacomb command barge were quite good for how much you paid. Extra movement, quantum shielding and a really big gun was really quite a nice combination. I certainly don't think that this is going to by any means stop people running Catacomb command barges. They're still good, but now in sort of a power level terms I put them a bit more on par with Overlords for the amount of utility you get for what you invest. The other change to the HQ section was to the Chronomancer, perhaps one of the single most competitive HQ choices for the Necrons, and interestingly enough the only nerf was to his staff, where you actually have to pay a little bit more for his entropic lance. That's the one that you get a d3 plus 3 damage with, and it has a nice shooting attack, and to be honest, on an 80 point Chronomancer it was a bit of a steal. You've already got a character who's providing a nice invul save buff and a bit of a charge reroll, maybe carrying a Warlord trait or the Veil of Darkness as well, and he also gets to handily chip away with a random very powerful shot. It will now basically cost you 10 points compared with his other option, so basically if you want the shooting as opposed to just mainly the buffing character, you're going to have to pay a bit of a premium. For me it's kind of take or leave, his main purpose is to buff not to shoot, though to be honest 10 points for a few random shots over the course of a game doesn't seem like it's the worst investment either. Either way, I think that the Chronomancer still remains very good and will be a staple in competitive Necron lists to come. Next we have the one previewed by Warhammer Community. The Immortals are dropping 2 points on their Tesla Carbine option, down to 17 points from 19. This now means that the Tesla Carbine is the exact same cost as the Gauss Blaster, which I think is kind of fair really. The Tesla Carbine, while you do get a lot of shots at good range, it does lose out for being AP 0. Before I certainly would have taken the Gauss over the Tesla. Now if anything, perhaps the Tesla might be looking a little bit ahead. I still think that for close range firepower you might be better off with warriors with Gauss Reapers. They're going to do more damage compared with the Gauss Immortals, and the Tesla Immortals can now maybe fill in as a bit more of a longer range troop choice, being a bit more efficient at what they do. If you want to park a unit on a backfield objective, they're a decent choice now, and I think that they're a particularly tasty choice in Method, where at least you have the chance of getting an AP-1 if your opponent ventures too close. Certainly not too terrible timing for that new Necron Combat Patrol set, where you get some Immortals included. Our next change is to the Doomsday Arc, minus 20 points from his 190, going down to 170 points. That's another very decent points adjustment indeed, down a big 11%, and that's going to give him a fair bit more efficiency. I think it is kind of interesting that the Doomsday Arc got picked for a buff over the Canoptek Doomstalker. I did a comparison video on the two previously, which you're welcome to look up if you're interested, and at the end I feel that their numbers worked out pretty similarly. Both the Doomstalker and the Doomsday Arc have their advantages, and for raw firepower and durability they were kind of even. Now though, with the Doomsday Arc taking really quite a decent points drop, going down to 170, and the Doomstalker staying about the same, if you want a Doomsday weapon in the Necron list, then I think that the Doomsday Arc will be the way to go. They hit on 3s, so they don't care about modifiers quite so much. If they need to move, at least they have really quite fast movement, and they've actually got good close range shooting with all of those Gauss flares. They might have a bit more competition for the ranged anti-tank role though, now Locust Heavy Destroyers have also seen an update. Next up we have the Locus Destroyers, down 5 points. They used to be 60, and they're now 55 points each. That one's an 8% discount, so maybe a little bit less than the other buffs, but still nonetheless fairly decent. Honestly, I think that Locust Destroyers were a unit that were in need of a buff. Their guns are quite generalist and will generally put hurt on whatever they fire at, but that 24-inch threat range really didn't help them at all. On top of that, they're really not all that tough for how expensive they are, and that's not really a great combo with having to get up close and personal with their close range fire. I think now they've dropped to 55, they're a bit more brought up to speed with the standard Necron Codex units, but maybe not anything particularly standout still. Finally, last but not least, we have the Locust Heavy Destroyer, who's dropped down to 60 points from 70, and has taken the biggest percentage increase of the codex, dropping down 14%. Honestly, I think that these guys could be quite good now. I still prefer the single anti-tank shot to their more anti-infantry version, but getting a single anti-tank shot with 3d3 damage on it if you get it through is pretty nice for 60 points. In theory, getting lucky with a couple of big hitters with this could kill you a vehicle then and there. At 60 points for only 4 toughness 5 wounds, there's certainly still anything outstanding with the durability front, but at least compared with the standard version of Locus Destroyers, they are able to blaze away at a far longer range. These guys can also be particularly efficient in the Zarrakan dynasty, where they get their single wound roll per squad, meaning that if you are playing that dynasty anyway, a trio of individual units of these might be quite a good choice. Overall, I think that the points decrease was a good one. They've changed a unit that was just a little bit underwhelming despite being really quite a cool new model, and turned it into a fairly competitive one, probably one of the stronger picks now for Necron ranged anti-tank. It'll be interesting to see if Doomsday Arcs or Destroyers get any more inclusion in Necron lists with the points updates. Finally, of course, we have all the units that weren't included in the points changes, including ones that I thought might have seen updates. Perhaps ones that I might have liked to see drops on would have been the Necron Super Heavies, aside from the Silent King, who's already well worth it. In particular, the Obelisk could go down a bit, I think, and maybe something like a small points drop to units like the Hexmark Destroyer or Necron Death Marks might have been good. Maybe dropping down the Reanimator even further could have been nice as well. I could see that thing actually being taken a fair bit at maybe 60 or 70 points. Overall though, of the buffs that we do have, I think that the Necrons have made it out okay out of this update. I think that they've gained more options than they've lost, really. You're not going to be spamming the Catacomb command barges or Chronomancers too much, so that's going to be at best like 20 or 30 points out of a list. And I think having Tesla Immortals, Doomsday Arcs and Heavy Destroyers as far more viable options is generally going to be a win for the Necron Codex. Overall, I'd say that the points adjustments make sense, so while maybe they perhaps could have gone a bit further, I think the Games Workshop have done a pretty good job on this. As always interested to hear your thoughts and opinions, so feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Do you think that the updates are good, or do you think that they didn't go far enough in buffing the Necron army? I'll hopefully be making a fair few more videos like this, including covering the Imperial Guard and a few other factions in the next day or two, so feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics or check back later if you'd like to see more. Finally, if you have been enjoying my videos, I would just like to mention one way that you can help support the channel, which is my Element Games affiliate link down in the video description. Element Games is a discount retailer based in the UK, where they give 10 to 20% off Games Workshop's models, and you can help to support the channel by using them. If you click the link in the video description, then a small amount of money goes to Auspex Tactics when you make an order, and it doesn't cost you any more whatsoever when you buy anything. It can just be a way to help out on things that you might have bought anyway. For people in the USA and Canada, there is also an Amazon link as well. Again, that works in pretty much the same way. If you click on it, then some money goes to help support the channel, and it doesn't cost you any more when you buy anything. A big thank you to you guys who have been using those, it really does help out. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you for listening. I'll keep the videos coming, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.